Hi there, and welcome to this series on the Literature Review. Now, in this video clip, we'll be looking specifically at one of the key aspects of any academic research paper, academic journal article, dissertation, or thesis, and that is the literature review. Now, the literature review is a section or a chapter that often confuses a lot of students, particularly those who are new to the research process, because they don't always know or understand what exactly a literature review is, and often they tend to think of it as a rather abstract, extended essay or an assignment, when in fact this is not the case. So, what exactly is a literature review? Well, in order to answer this question, it's important to see this as a three-step process, which is circular rather than linear. So it's a very iterative kind of process. The first step entails locating, gathering, and organizing the relevant literature on your specific topic or area of research. The second step involves reading the literature on your specific topic in order to gain a better understanding of what has already been researched by other scholars in the field and what therefore already exists or does not exist in the current body of knowledge. Now remember that you're not expected to already be an expert in your field or to know everything that there is to know about your research topic when you begin. It's all about finding out about what has already been said or written about your topic, demonstrating your understanding, and then building on what has gone before. So the purpose of this particular step in the process is to learn about or gain an understanding of your research topic by reading about it, digesting or processing the relevant information, embedding the knowledge as you go along, and then formulating opinions or drawing conclusions about that information, which then brings us to the next and final step in the process. So the third step deals with the actual writing up of your literature review chapter. Now this entails a very careful process of collating, reviewing, or critiquing, as well as integrating and synthesizing, or in other words, bringing together information obtained from various sources. But I'll unpack these steps in more detail in separate videos. For now, let's start by taking a closer look at what is meant by the term literature. Now, in terms of academic research, the word literature alludes specifically to the existing body of academic works or scholarship, otherwise known as sources, on a certain topic of interest or subject, whether available in print or online, and which have been written and published by other scholars in the field. So, in other words, the literature refers to what has already been written or said about your topic or area of interest, and equally importantly, what has not been written or said about it. Now, these academic sources fall into three distinct categories, namely primary, secondary, and tertiary sources. Let's take a closer look at primary sources. So these typically consist of original materials with which the writer has a direct, immediate connection. Therefore, These provide first-hand information on a particular topic or subject within a specific discipline or field of study, or on a particular person or phenomenon. So examples of primary sources could include things like letters, speeches, diary entries, interviews, autobiographies, artifacts, photographs, policy documents, legislation, statistical data, and correspondence. Secondary sources, on the other hand, are created using the information contained in primary sources, and this is usually done through a careful process of selection, description or explanation, analysis, interpretation and evaluation, as well as integration and synthesis. Thus, secondary sources provide second-hand accounts and are therefore less immediate than or one step away from primary sources. In other words, these are sources with which the writer has less direct contact. Some examples of secondary sources would include things such as peer-reviewed articles in academic journals, academic books, research papers, dissertations or theses, conference papers, biographies, political commentaries. They also would include newspaper and magazine articles or reports, documentaries, historical accounts, essays, reviews, and literary criticism. Now, tertiary sources, on the other hand, which are often considered to fall under the umbrella of secondary sources, are even further removed than secondary sources. And they are also usually created from various secondary sources. Some examples of tertiary sources would include, for instance, academic textbooks, reference books, dictionaries, encyclopedias, instruction manuals, bibliographies, guides, directories, compendiums, or collections. Now, good research, which is based on gathering and presenting relevant information and evidence, usually uses a range of primary, secondary, and tertiary sources. Now, in order to locate and to gather these sources, you might visit the library at your university, or you may request these from other university libraries. It's important to note that often university library services include ordering books or journal articles from other libraries on your behalf. You may also decide to make use of several university or academic research databases or search engines such as EBSCOhost, ERIC, JSTOR, PubMed, ProQuest, Open Access, and many, many more. Another very useful tool is Google Scholar, which is free and is linked to several academic research databases. So that just about covers the literature part of the literature review. Next, let's take a closer look at what it means to review the literature. Now, reviewing entails putting it through a very rigorous process of formal critical assessment or evaluation. In this case, the literature on a particular topic or subject area. So looking very closely at it, examining it. Hence the term literature review. So a literature review, which may comprise a standalone research paper, a section in an academic article, or a single or multiple chapters in a dissertation or thesis, provides a critical overview of the existing body of scholarly publications on a particular topic or subject within a specific area or field or discipline. It's important to note, however, that there is an emphasis on the word critical. Thus, rather than simply providing a straightforward summary of the academic literature on a particular research topic, the writer of a literature review is required to engage critically with the material. Now, critical engagement with the literature entails a process of carefully analyzing, evaluating, and interpreting all of the ideas of other scholars in order to form specific value judgments and/or draw important conclusions about their contributions, and then using these as a way of constructing the conceptual or theoretical framework that will then be used to underpin or to support your own research. It's important to mention here that rather than being expected to start from zero, all research is normally based on previous research, and therefore the knowledge and insights gained by other scholars as a way of making progress within a specific field or subject area. Think of it this way. Imagine standing at the back of a crowd at a music concert and trying to see the stage from there. It might not be so easy, and you wouldn't have a very clear picture of the performance. Now, imagine sitting on someone's shoulders at that very same concert. It would be a lot easier to see the stage, and the picture would be much, much clearer, right? Now, this is similar to basing your own research on what has gone before. Drawing on previous studies to support your own research will enable you to stand on the shoulders of other scholars, so to speak, and therefore gain a better understanding of and perspective on your research topic. I'd also just like to point out here that while it's important to gain an understanding of the current scholarship on your research topic, it's also important to have an understanding of how exactly your research fits into the broader context. In other words, what your specific contribution to the field will be. But more on that later. Since conducting a literature review involves reviewing and critiquing previously published scholarship related to your research topic, it does not include a discussion of the primary data emanating from your study, such as your own research findings or your results. Instead, these aspects will be included in a separate section or chapter or chapters, as you will see later in the series. Therefore, the literature review section or chapter is dedicated specifically to commenting on and critiquing existing academic works related to the research topic and which have been published by other academic scholars or experts in your field. In addition to engaging in a critical discussion of previously published works by other scholars, the literature review also identifies specific gaps within the current body of knowledge. Now, a research gap refers to a particular research problem that has not been addressed or a research question that has not been answered in the current scholarship and which therefore requires further investigation, thus justifying the need for your research. Now, importantly, the literature review and the conceptual or theoretical framework that emanates from it is used to provide a context for your research. And in doing so, it helps to situate your study within the contemporary academic discourse on your chosen research topic. Furthermore, it helps to convey your unique perspective or your position on the research topic, and it also informs the reader about the importance or the significance of your research that you wish to undertake. Another important aspect to consider when writing your literature review is its range and scope, which need to be carefully delineated right from the start so that your reader knows exactly what to expect. This entails specifying what you will be including and excluding in your discussion of the literature. This will require you to select only the most relevant ideas, theories, models, and scholars in relation to your chosen topic. Now, once you have done so, you will need to create your conceptual or theoretical framework by integrating and synthesizing all of the information you have gathered and using this as evidence to support and build upon your own arguments. As mentioned earlier, the literature review may also comprise either a section of your research paper or article, or a single chapter, as is the case in a master's dissertation, or several chapters, as is often the case in a doctoral thesis. Nevertheless, the literature review always follows the introduction and precedes the methodology section or chapter. So, I hope this makes sense to you and that you now have a better understanding of what the literature review is. And in the next clip, I'll be looking at the purpose or the function of the literature review. I look forward to seeing you in the next clip.